I thought I had my camera on. I don't. Let me fix that. There I am. Hi, Ping.
Hey Amy, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I think we're gonna have a fun show tonight, but I have a couple like little housekeeping things I want to address before we get started. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So first of all, Ping and I are desperately trying to get to 500 subscribers so that we have access to a community page where we can better communicate with you. And we've been saying this every live, and thank you so much because our subscribers have gone up tremendously, and we really, really appreciate it. So if you just keep sharing our videos, keep telling people, about the channel, and like and subscribe yourself. If you're a creator and you can share us, if the Facebook page and you can share us any way without your friends thinking that we're part of an MLM or something, that would be great. So really pleased on that. And I think we're going to have a great show for you tonight. It's going to be truly true crime light. We have some true crime mixed here and there. We're just hanging out like friends. But we have a special guest tonight, and she's going to join us in just a moment. And that's Jen from True Crime Unveiled, who is not just another person on YouTube with an amazing channel, but also a good friend to both Ping and I. So really excited for that tonight. So without any further ado, how would you like to start? I'm going to let you drive.
I want to talk about this TikTok thing that you have in the title, if that's all right.
Sure. Okay, so should we frame it up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, Ping and I don't talk about anything to do with like the content of the show before we go on. That's like one of the things that makes this a little different. So I don't know how he feels about this, but I am on TikTok. I mean, not like on it, but I like TikTok. I use it. It's like a thing for me. And I come across a lot of videos where people are saying that human trafficking occurs at a high frequency at Target, and they make these videos. And they talk about look for the white cars in the parking lot, or look for the green cars in the parking lot. And I'm sorry, there's human traffic everywhere. Like, if anything, like this sounds like something that Walmart did to take down Target. Like, tell you suburban housewives and college kids don't shop at Target because you'll get sold into human trafficking. And there's tons of videos, and I do have an example of one if you want to watch it, Ping.
Yeah, send me an example. Let's have a look.
All right, here we go.
Stop and listen. You guys, I just heard of a new human trafficking technique that is really scary. My friend was shopping at Target in Charlotte, North Carolina, and she was approached by a very friendly girl around her age, and the girl complimented her, "Oh, your leggings are so cute," and they got to talking, ended up exchanging numbers, and the girl asked, "Oh, we should go get coffee sometime." My friend decided not to go get coffee because of COVID, but the same thing happened to her a couple days later. Different girl, different compliment, same outcome. Let's go get coffee. And she said that they were very, very pushy, like very wanting to go get coffee. And she thought it was kind of sus. So now we know there's a new tactic. These people are coming up being very friendly, and they're trying to get you to go to coffee so that they can take you. So be careful about who you're friends with.
Okay.
I have some thoughts.
I do too, and I don't know where you stand. I don't know if we're aligned because, like last night, we were talking about something, and like we weren't completely aligned on it. So I'm interested, and I'm gonna let you go. I mean, not give you permission, but you know what I mean. You go. You talk.
Well, we've done a lot on human trafficking throughout our careers in true crime. It sounds just a little weird. It almost, I know you said this word before, it almost strikes me as the MLM, multi-level marketing. It's like there's these people out there and they're trying to get younger people to get involved with it. That's kind of what it comes across to me. Not really sex trafficking as such. More like they're trying to sign them up to probably, sell Amway or something. I don't know. It just to go and have coffee. I don't know. It sounds weird to me.
Yeah, well, here's where I am with this. I think sex trafficking can happen anywhere. I think it's odd that everybody's jumping on the Target train, but I'm glad that people are being more aware and noticing their surroundings and stuff. But whatever happened to people just being nice in public, people wanting to meet a new friend? Like, is that so weird? I mean, I feel like these women making these TikToks are more likely to meet up with someone that they met on TikTok than they are to the person that was nice to them about complimenting their leggings at a Target. It's very odd to me. And I will add, like, I was actually at Target the other night. Nobody wanted me, so I'm still here. I guess I'm past my prime, which isn't really a funny joke when I think about it. But anyway, I'll let it go. But there was this display, and it was really bright and colorful, and there was a girl standing in front of it. Like the display was kind of like an army green and yellow and had touches of like fuchsia in it. And there was this girl standing in front of it with a bright yellow t-shirt that had some of the pink in it. And then she was kind of like olive skin. And like, I mean, she looked like a model in front of it, like everything went together. And I was looking at something on there and I said, like, oh my gosh, you look like you're part of the merchandising. I'm like, you totally match this brand. And she was like, oh, thanks or whatever. It was in Target. She didn't grab her shopping cart and run away from me and yell like, she asked me for coffee, or anything like that. It's just, I don't understand. It's a little weird.
Aimee, did you end up on a TikTok? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I might have. I hope so. I'm going to just start asking people at Target if they want coffee. I'm just going to go to the grocery section and fill up my entire cart with coffee. And then I'm just going to, would you like coffee? Would you like...
I was reading some of the comments, Aimee, and one of the girls actually works at Target. Well, look, hey, it's the comments. She could literally work at Walmart and she's just trying to get them. But she said that they've actually taken specific training for this now and that they're training for these situations. And I'm like, it's probably a good thing, especially with, you know how we've seen like the waitresses with the signs and they're like, do you need help or whatever? It makes sense in that regards. And I guess it's good just to be, trained and what's going on. But it was interesting that the girl said they are now training at Target for these kind of, I don't know, stalking, I guess, or situations.
I mean, it is good. Like I said, I'm glad people are aware. I am glad that people are paying more attention to their surroundings. That's really important. All of that. I do think it's a little weird that it's just Target. I do think it's important that we train employees to be sensitive to or to be alert or whatever. But this is just like business person Aimee, not Aimee on this show. Business person Aimee. I'm not going to burden my $15 an hour employees with protecting somebody from human trafficking like that. Like that's really a concern, and they need more like loss prevention and security people outside or undercover shoppers. You know what I mean? Like
I do, because they're just not getting paid enough to do that kind of stuff. And you guys have security for that type of thing.
I mean,
but I have to ask, does Business Aimee have a hat? Because we should get one so that you can change it when you speak as Business Aimee.
I should. I'm looking around. Here, I have some double stick tape. Does that work?
That'll do.
This is Business Aimee. Jen's here. You want to?
Yeah, let's bring Jen on.
All right. Hi. Hello. Oh, I'm in the middle.
I know. Oh, sorry. Every time I touch my desk, because I have one of those like Logi stream cam things.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't really clip onto my laptop.
Yeah.
And so I can't touch anything. And when you're as shifty as me.
I have the same issue. I have the same camera and I'm not using it right now, which is why I look weird, I guess. I mean, compared to I don't look, at least I hope I don't look like this in real life. it comes off the top of my monitor. It will, and I use it, like I balance it on books and stuff sometimes, and that doesn't really work either. And then I have to move around in my chair, so I got to fix that situation. I'm not really sure what it is. But everybody, if you don't know already, this is Jen. She has a channel on YouTube called True Crime Unveiled. She is not only a fellow creator, but a friend to both Ping and I. So we're so happy she's here. And her channel is linked in the description down below. So go check it out. Like her videos, subscribe, all that good stuff. Jen is a born researcher, I would say, fact checker and fact connector. I don't know.
I like that one. I'm going to put that on my resume.
She's a fact connector. No, she just digs stuff up and then she's like, oh, I'm not really, I don't know how I'll use that. And he goes over in the corner and then it's like playing a game of memory. And she's like, oh, one day she like finds the other half. And she's like, holy moly. And she puts it together and she just has a gift of being able to explain it and deliver it. She is not, her channel is not exclusively about the Daybell case, but she has done a lot of work on it. And she has an advantage and a different perspective than a lot of people because she was raised in the LDS church. So when it comes to scriptures, interpretation, and being able to find things, being able to explain things, she can do, because she's lived it. It's nothing that I think that any of us on the outside could study for 10 years and be at her level. So amazing channel. And I guess I wanted to ask you tonight, because I haven't really ever asked you before, and I know you've spoken a little bit about this on other channels, but like, made you decide to start a channel? Like, what the day that you did it, like what was it? Well, because there's a lot of like stuff that comes with doing YouTube. I mean, it's not everything people think it is, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more work than I ever thought it would be. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna just make a couple videos. So I was on TikTok for like a year, and I did a lot of the social justice stuff, but it just got way too sad. And so then I was like, I started writing my book. It's only at the first draft, so it's far from over. Actually, it was going to be more, but then I started YouTube. But when I started my book, like I worked in marketing, and so they say you should build up a platform because that's what publishers are looking for. Like, they're not going to publish a book it's just really hard to get a book published. And so I was like, well, what if I did like a little family, like, here's our family, we're gay, hey, like, what if I just kind of did that? But it was just going to be my wife and I, because like our kids, we don't do the kid thing, and they're older and they're crabby. Right. And so I was going to do that and then just do like a little vlog about like the writing process. And so I made like a couple videos, and they were like the boring stuff that you see on other channels. Like, that all seemed to be Mormon, by the way. Like, I don't know. I shouldn't say too much, because there is a YouTuber that does that was very nice to me in the beginning, but like 8 passengers or whatever, and they like go grocery shopping and it's a thing. Like, yeah. So yeah, I was like that, like, okay, get to know me. And then the Daybell case hit, and I was watching it on every channel I could find. And I didn't know when it came out that they were Mormon. I had no idea. And then I was listening to a report on the local news, and it said they have ties to the Mormon church. And I was like, excuse me, let's see about this. And I was watching a channel, and it talked about translated beings. And oh, by the way, hi Moonlight View, and then anybody in chat. I'm not allowed to look at chat because I get distracted. But hi to everyone.
Just a warning, we have 3 ADD people up here.
I know.
It's very hard not to jump in and be like, here's my comment right over the top of you, Jen. But I was gonna say those early videos, they weren't just soaking instructional videos, were they?
No, they were. What?
I had to bring it up.
Registered with her right away.
Do you know that has been around forever? Like, I don't know.
The TikTok.
Yeah, I'm like, when it hit TikTok and everyone was talking about it, because I think you were the one that texted me. It was like, "What's this about soaking?" I'm like, "That's been around forever."
Sex ed, Mormon sex ed with Chen.
That's right, because we don't have it in this state. So
Mm.
that's how we all learn. Is those BYU kids?
No, there's some freaky freaks.
They're little rascals.
Mhm.
But no, I was watching a channel and someone mentioned translated beings, and like they were not at all connected. And I remembered my Book of Mormon, and I was like, wait a minute, they're like a big thing. Like it's not something like this is something. It's there. 3rd Nephi, chapter 28. It's a doctrinal thing, and so I just started getting even more curious and started looking at the connections that some creators had made and I didn't know it at the time, but I had wondered why nobody like would talk about the religious part. Like no creators that I could find. And I was like, I was like, why isn't anyone talking about this? Why hasn't anyone figured this out? And then something came out. I think it was when they said she was incompetent. And that was my first video, I think. And then that one like did really well. I was surprised because I had like 5 views on my other ones. And so then I just kind of started making them, and you contacted me, and then Kresha contacted me. And so I just kept going.
Yeah. Well, were you listening to us talk about Target?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think about that? Do you think, I mean, because I'm not trying to make fun of women, like, watch your surroundings. Somebody's following you, like, make a partner or don't walk out to your car or whatever. But I just have a hard time believing that, there was a sex trafficking convention and they all decided that Target's the place.
Yeah. So Utah has a real problem with trafficking. I-15 goes straight down, right? So I have a friend whose husband was highway patrol, and they'll stop cars, all the time. But something that they've said a lot is it's not really like a random person at Target that's going to kidnap you and put you into trafficking. It's someone you already know.
Right.
And people in Utah, just speaking as someone in Utah, I noticed a couple years ago that there was like, people were like, I went to Target and this guy just kept following my son around. And so it was like that same kind of like, I don't know. I feel like they wanted him. And I was like, well, lucky me. I have 2 kids with ADHD and one that was autistic and freaked out every time we went to the store. So nobody would have wanted mine.
Yeah. That was my joke too, right? Because when Christian was little, he would like knock over the end caps. And I'm like, yeah, nobody's taking it. If they do, I'll get them right back.
Yeah.
It'll be like, yeah.
Yeah, mine would run from me like the Target employees knew. I would be like, and they'd be like, we got to check the door. So I think it's more, to me, I feel like these things are almost to distract from the real issue, which is that there are people that that can be doing these things and grooming we're talking about child trafficking, they're grooming your children to trust them. And we have seen so much. I think I sent you the article, but we've seen recently, they've talked about trafficking rings in Utah County and ritual abuse. And I never know what I can say on other people's channels. Sorry.
We say everything here.
Okay. Because I just say what I want on mine and then I forget other people are monetized.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oops.
We say everything.
Yeah. So it's like it's an issue. I know that if anybody is like really interested in researching it, Lynn Packer in Utah, he used to be a reporter. He's retired. He has done a lot of work looking into Operation Underground Railroad. That a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, they're so amazing. They do all this work. And there's actually a lot of really unethical things that have come out about them. And the Utah Attorney General, Sean Reyes, is like buddy with that guy. And they had this whole thing in Park City where they had planned this raid, but they had like cameras there. And so he was going to jump in and save the day, but there was like no one to save. He was like, it was like they followed him and they're like, we're going to raid this building. And then it was like, oh, well, no one's here.
I've seen that before. Yeah, that's terrible. Yeah.
I saw that too, actually. Was that the family that was, like they had that, what is that? They have like the many wives and the many children and they were going to raid it and try and get the leader or whatever. I saw something about that recently.
Well, I remember when, what's that TLC show about the Brown family? They're polygamists.
Oh, Sister Wives.
Yeah. So it's always been hilarious to me because there's a reason why Texas raided the compound for the FLDS. Like, nobody gets arrested for polygamy in Utah ever. Like, and they were like, oh my gosh, we're going to get arrested. We have to move to Vegas. And I was like, seriously, I had polygamists living down the street from me growing up. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
They give so much
just
money.
a thing that happens over there.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted to move to Vegas.
Yeah. I think TLC was like, you guys are kind of boring. Let's make this interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I guess like when I heard all of this Target TikTok thing, and I'm serious, and I agree with Jen that if you're going to be put into human trafficking, it's probably somebody already in your life that you already have a connection with, and I think you're more likely. I mean, I don't want to put up percentages. I haven't done a study, but you're more likely to be groomed via TikTok and trafficked than you are shopping at the Target. But you still need to be aware. You still need to be surrounded. But freaking out because, you know, some lady's on the same aisle as you twice. Well, hello, it's a store. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a little weird. So, Ping, do you have anything else to say about it? Because I'm like, I get it. It's like create awareness and stuff, but like cut it out. Like you can go to Target. It's okay.
I actually wonder how many of these incidents are from undercover loss prevention people that are following people through the store.
Probably.
Oh, that's a great point.
Probably. Yeah. There was a time when I was dropping my kids off at school, like, because it's so far away. And it was like when they were young and they did like half days and I didn't have time to drive home, that I knew all the loss prevention people in Target because they were only in school for like 3 hours. So I would like literally every day go to Target and walk around because it was like hot. I didn't want to sit in my car and like I didn't have anything to do. So yeah, it could very well be that. Like I was like, oh yeah, I see him every day. I see him every day. I see him every day. And they're like, is she a new employee? No, some weirdo that goes to Target every day. Well,
Yeah.
So, I have something kind of fun that I wanted to show you guys, if I can do that. And then I know Ping was going to talk about a case out of Australia that's extremely interesting. But I want to pull, actually I have two, but I'll just do one now. Do you guys want the one that's just for fun, or do you want the one that's like for fun and kind of true crimey?
You can do both.
Okay, yay.
I have a short little one I think that people might be interested in if we have time, but it's not. It's just like a little.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So this site that I'm going to share with you guys. Let me just look on StreamYard.
Ah!
Did it freak you out?
It freaks me out.
Okay. So I didn't expect that reaction. Whew. Okay. So it's called myheritage.com. And then it's, I put the link in the description below so you can go play with this. But it's really kind of cool. So I put up a picture of JFK, but here's what you do. You upload a photo. So I'm going to put this one on here. It analyzes the photo. This is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers because we were talking about him the other night and people seem to like it. So the website works its little magic and spreads pixie dust everywhere. And then it animates your photo. And I just thought it was kind of cool. I don't know what you would use it for. Here, I'll do one more.
Does it talk?
No, it does not talk. I've seen other like phone apps and stuff where that's the JFK one. I got to remember which one I'm doing. So you'll just see this is the still shot I used. But I've seen like apps for the phone that'll make them talk. You know, like there's Wombo where you put in like you choose a song and then you can
I get those from someone who is here.
that
Sent me them.
Yeah. So there are applications that will do that. I'm not sure I'm going to pick a new one here because I'm really like unorganized with my clips sometimes.
It looks like, Aimee, it would be really good for like relatives who have long passed away.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't remember how they were or how they moved sort of thing. And it's a nice way of kind of remembering them.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was kind of cool. We'll put Tay up here real quick and then.
Aw, Tay.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that, Tay. I don't like this. It reminds me of deep fakes, and I'm always paranoid about deep fakes.
But it's just interesting. I thought that was a little fun thing. So, you know, like if you're a teacher or you run like a team huddle at your office or, you know, you just want to do something fun with your kids. It's kind of a fun little thing to do. And then the other one I have is this. And this
MyHeritage is like a family tree. It's like a genealogy site, right?
Yeah. So I think they're trying to make it more interactive to like draw people to it and use it like ancestry.com and the like. So there's that, maybe hoping that people upload photos of people other than JFK, Taylor Swift, and Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. But that's what I did, and they're just going to have to deal with it. So here's the other thing I pulled up. Now this is called, it's basically like a Google driving simulator. Have you seen this, Ping? This is like something that I would have thought that like you have probably. Oh no. Okay, hold on.
I haven't seen this one. I've seen a few others that work on this same kind of computing power that kind of do different things. There's one that makes, if you type random words, it'll make like cartoons and photos out of your words. So I think I sent you one, the Sushi and Johnny Depp one. That was one done with the computing.
Okay, this is weird though. Hold on, because this is not working like it did on my phone. So give me 1 second. I'm going to stop sharing. I don't want to share. And let me see if I can pull it up a different way. This basically what it does is it gives you a car or a bus and you type in an address and you can drive down the street and you can stop places. You can look around, you can zoom in. It's not going to come up. Well, the link's in the bio. So that was a bus. So hold on, I'm going to try one more time and then I'm not going to spend any more time on it. Let me see if I don't know why it's. Oh, here we go. Okay. I got it. Now I'm just going to go back and share. Okay. Driving simulator. Okay. So let me make this a little bit bigger. Tell me when it gets big enough.
Well, I think it's good.
Okay. All right. So what just happened? Are you freaking kidding me? I rolled over something. Okay. So here's my, it's loading. Give me an address to put in. what should we look up? The White House?
Yeah,
Should
1600
we look
Pennsylvania.
up Times Square? Let's do Times Square, New York City. Okay.
I've never been there. I've never been to the East Coast.
Here's our little car. And really?
Jen, did you say you've never
I do have
been
to make it
outside
smaller
of your
so
state before?
that I can.
Oh no, I haven't
it
been like to that part of the
all
East
on one
Coast.
screen.
I just remember
So
I
then
have been to
do
Florida.
is you have the steering wheel
okay.
on this. Yeah, I was gonna say I thought you told me you'd been to Florida, but I was like,
Yeah, we stopped over
so
on our way.
I think we're losing Aimee a little bit. I think she's lagging.
this is just you guys try.
Yeah.
Am I?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think
I closed it out. I think what's happening is so like whatever that it's not allowing me to be on the screen at the same time. Go look on it on your own desktop or on your phone. The link's in the description. It's pretty cool. You can drive by places, you can stop, you can kind of look around what's nearby. But I thought like for those of us into true crime and things like that, it would be interesting if you were presenting something to screen record it, so that people get an idea of what it's like to be in that area. But also, you know, sometimes you hear in cases like after the suspects killed somebody or whatever, they went to McDonald's, and then they say, oh, they went to the McDonald's in Orlando where there's like 26 of them, and they're like, they were at McDonald's 5 minutes after they left the crime scene according to the ring cam or something, you know, like. So then you can figure out like what McDonald's it was, where they, you know, it's kind of, I think it's interesting. I think it's kind of fun. So I will say probably people that play video games would be better at it than me. I don't play like console games. And when I was trying to drive my little car today, I like fell in a lake and I was going around in circles in my neighbor's backyard and crashing into their screen porch, which it doesn't show, but you know, I was literally like driving across their pool deck. So yeah, it's super, super fun. But anyway, that was my little fun thing. I like finding little fun things to do on the internet because I'm weird and that's who I am.
Well, we kind of need it when we talk about depressing stuff all day. Like,
yeah. Oh, I agree. I'm sorry. But Blackbeard, we're not having anybody join the stream tonight. It's just going to be the three of us. But if you have something to say, you're more than welcome to say it in the comments. So yeah. All right, Jen, you said you had something kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's cool, and I just kind of thought of it. So in February, there was a woman, like I think she was only like 22. She was young. Her name was Sophia something. Okay, I'm just going off of memory, and clearly I forgot. But anyway, Sophia went missing. She lives in Layton, which is about half hour north of Salt Lake. Mm-hmm. And she went missing. And then they found her in a field in Randolph, Utah, like 5 miles from the road.
Right.
I believe they said she died from exposure. Oh. Now, she had a history of substance use. And her family said she's pretty trusting, so she probably went with someone not knowing what was going to happen to her. Mm-hmm. But they are like, she had to have been murdered because, like, why would you walk through a field in the middle of winter in Randolph, Utah, which is very rural, and like 5 miles, and then just go without any type of thing? And it made me think, because they just got her autopsy back. And so it's something like, I don't know if you do this, but sometimes I'll see something come up on YouTube and I'm like, that might be a good topic to look into it. And then I save it to a playlist. Yeah. And so that's just kind of what I did. And then I was thinking, like, so it's on the exact opposite side of the state of Dillon Rounds. And I was just like, that's kind of weird, because there was like Dillon Rounds, and then there was wasn't there someone else that they found like walking or climbing, like taking their shoes off on a highway or something?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of thought that was interesting. And personally, that's where I think Dylan's I think he's gone. And I think that he's somewhere in a field. Like,
I think you're right. I think he's somewhere out there. Like when you saw the overview of where Dylan Round's property, just his property, it's massive. Like it's so desolate out there too. You
oh
could,
yeah.
unfortunately, someone could go missing or murdered out there, and it would take a long time to find them.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's happened. I'll tell you where like a lot of really weird things occur where a lot of people get dumped is by the Great Salt Lake off at I-80. But
That's
yeah, up
interesting.
by where he lived is extremely rural. Like I didn't know it existed. When people said where it was, I was like, I've never heard of that. And I've lived here my entire life.
That's
Me either.
interesting.
I was like, when they mentioned the property he bought and the town it was in, and apparently it only has like one bar or something. Like it's just this little tiny old western kind of township. It's very small.
Yeah. And it's owned, there's a lot of land. I've talked the Kingston group. They're polygamists in Utah. They're very powerful polygamists. Actually, one of an ex-Kingston member, she has a YouTube channel. Her name is Amanda Ray, and she talks about growing up in that cult. It's a cult, and they own a lot of land up there. And the first thing I thought was land dispute, land or water dispute, is what I thought.
Makes
Huh.
sense. Yeah. Guys, give me 2 minutes. I'm just going to unplug my microphone. I can see from my
Sure.
little icon thing, my voice is really flat, and I just want to fix something, so I'll be back.
Okay, no worries. I think I want to see if this is the right article. Is this it? Body at Bear Lake has been identified as missing woman from Layton.
What day is that?
It's April 2022. Like a newer one.
Does it say so? Yeah, Sophia.
Lower, yeah.
Which Randolph, I guess it is kind of by up there. It's in Rich County.
I
So,
only
yeah.
picked this one because it had a photo and a good headline. The other ones had this like blurry like ambulance thing.
Yeah. Isn't Bear Lake gorgeous?
Yes.
Colder than it's
Really?
freezing.
Yeah. It looks like heaven though.
I had a friend whose boat sunk. Like
no.
she was in the water so they bought a boat, and I guess it wasn't him because everyone was like, he didn't put the plug in, but it wasn't something like that. It was something at the dealer that the dealer didn't do. So they were on there. Their son's like 2 years old, and all of a sudden it just sank. And they said by the time he was sleeping, by the time they picked him up, it was already under. Like they just basically jumped into the water and the boat sank. And they were in the water. Literally, they didn't have their cell phones. So they were just holding their baby. They had one cushion. So he was just kind of sitting on the cushion. And they were just like, it was hours and hours. And
so like, what's the water temperature there? Is it spring fed? I mean, is it like 72 or does?
Oh no, I want to say it's 50s even in the summer.
Because they could have died in like.
Yeah. I mean, Carrie was a college swimmer. I swam with her. So, but I don't know how good of a swimmer her husband was. But it doesn't matter because people drown all the time in lakes.
Well, it's not just the drowning; it's the hypothermia.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and I don't know if Bear Lake does. There's some lakes in Utah, and that's in Idaho. But there's one that is a man-made lake in the valley, in Salt Lake Valley, that they just kind of put a bunch of water in, and they're like, "Yay, we have a lake!" But people drown in it all the time. Like several people drown each year because they dug it out. And so people think that they're not very far out, but then all of a sudden they can't touch.
Yeah.
And they can't get back to shore.
Yeah. Yeah. That kind of stuff scares me. I don't go out on Florida lakes because of alligators. It's just my thing. I just don't do it. I don't care what, like water skiing, all that stuff. Not doing it. I do go in the ocean, but like I'm really big, like when I'm on a boat about, I mean, it's a law anyway, but not because I'm a goody goody, but like life jackets, life vests, all that stuff in one place, making sure everything works, because if you don't, you can be seriously effed. Like you
I
need
wear life jackets, and I was a swimmer and a lifeguard, and I always have worn them.
well, you have to, because if you hit your head and you pass out, being a swimmer is not going to help you.
Yeah, you're just
Right. You're just, I mean, it, like, I don't know. People, I've heard, I've been in situations with people that are like, I don't wear a life jacket because of this, it's this. And I'm like, okay, but like if we hit something and you hit your head and you go overboard and you're unconscious, like, no, that's going to help you. Oh, wise one. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And telling, the other thing is telling people where you're going, you know, with the most exact way that you can. Like, we're going to go 2 miles out this way. We're going to be here. We're going to be there. Checking in, like at some point with coordinates. Like that, all that stuff is really, really important. It's just as important as putting gas in the boat. Really.
Yeah, and that's what saved their lives, because they did tell their friends, and
Mhm.
they didn't end up at the dock, and their friends were like, well, why aren't you back at the dock?
Yeah. No, I know I get upset with my husband. He'll go fishing with his friend or whatever, and he'll say, like, I'm not one of those like, you said you'd be home at a certain time, but you know, if he's like, we're gonna be off the water by night and it's an hour away, if it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, I start getting worried. And sometimes he's like, oh my god, babe, it's just because we went to McDonald's and I know you don't like fast food. Like, I don't care. It's just, you know, 30 minutes, if you were in the water, that could have happened, something bad could have happened to you at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you know, like, and I don't know that something's wrong until you're late. So like, I'm real big about that stuff. I don't.
Yeah, I stalked my college kid. Like, I had to promise her, because she kept turning her location off.
Right.
And I had to promise her I wouldn't call and yell at her if I didn't hear from her. And she's like, I will turn it on, but if you call, because I have like called her before and been like, where are you? Oh my gosh, it's showing here. Are you dead?
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I'm at a frat party. I'm like, well, that's just as bad.
Well, I'm 50 and my mom still does it to me. So
Yeah. See, she's only 21, but
yeah.
she was raised in Utah. It's very sheltered here. We have very strict liquor laws. No recreational plants that we can consume.
Mm-hmm.
We have medical, but she's going in a state where like it's definitely not as strict. And I was like, you have to watch your, I have 2 drinks. Like if I'm, sometimes I'll have a cocktail while I'm on YouTube, and it's like 1 drink and I'm like, well.
Yeah. You have to be careful. You have to be in a trusting situation. You have to have a way out of the situation without, you know, putting yourself in further jeopardy, meaning like if you want to leave and you've been drinking, you need a backup plan that you can get out of there in time. You like all of that stuff. And it just, it's hard. And it takes, you know, there's just something about being that age where you think you know everything, and you're like, oh, that'll never happen, or I do, and but they've never, like, I know one of the older stepchildren, like when Uber first came out, it's like, I have Uber on my phone, and I was like, well, is it connected to a card? Have you registered? Have you created it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're drunk somewhere and you don't want to call me, you're supposed to call me or your dad. But you don't want to call me and your dad, and you need to ride home, so you go to do Uber. Drunko can't put in an address and register and Gmail password and look at the credit card and all.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
yeah. I will say one thing that her sorority does. She's in a sorority, and they have someone man their drinks at all times. So there's a sister that is stationed at where the drinks are, so they can make sure they don't get spiked. And then they have a bunch of other things. So I do feel like she's safe. It's just that I do true crime, and every time I wake up, someone's sending me something about something horrible that happened.
Always to a young college-age girl as well.
Yeah.
Jen, have you seen they have these? It's like a scrunchie for your hair, and you can wear it. And when you take it out, it can go over the glass if you drink. and it protects your drink from having anything put inside it.
No, but I'm gonna order one of those.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was on Shark Tank, and it was actually a college girl who came up with the idea.
Yeah.
That's a
It's
good
like
idea.
a little shower cap for your glass.
Well, and also you don't have to hold your own hair back then if it's something you can, like it's a scrunchie you can put in your hair.
Yeah, it's a scrunchie, and then when you want to put it on your drink, you take it
Mhm.
out, and then you put it over the top of the glass, and yeah.
That's
Mhm.
perfect because that's the worst part of getting sick after is trying to keep your hair
Getting
out
your
of
hair
poop.
out of the bowl. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah, and they also have. Don't they have one ping that has like a zipper on it so you can put stuff in it or something?
They got a few different ones now. There's even a lot of I know a lot of colleges give out these little like beer coaster things now where you can dip your finger in it and then take a drip and drip it on the coaster, and it'll tell you if it's been modified from the
Mhm.
beer and stuff like that. Like they're great little simple things.
It knows like the pH level of like drinks. So it's kind of like, what do they litmus paper kind of,
Something
Yeah.
like that, or it's like some sort of
or like a
similar
drug
to the test they use in the
syrup.
drug labs where they snap it
Mhm.
and then it changes color. I think it works something similar to that. It's a reactionary thing.
No, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, Ping, you had told me that you wanted to do something with is it Blint? Is it Blint?
Yeah, Blint Homes in Melbourne, Australia. So Australia's going through a really bad economy right now. Same as a lot of other places. We're dealing with very high inflation, same as everywhere else. I don't know if this is a problem in the US. Are you having a lot of building companies go under right now because of the skyrocketing costs of materials and stuff?
Yes, because people purchase or paid a builder to build their house, and then yes, the materials went up, and the lag time between the two, the builders are robbing Peter to pay Paul to try to get these houses built.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So someone asked, is it Blint? Yes, Blint. So that's the name. So we've had a lot of those go down in Melbourne in the last, I don't know, 3 months. We've had probably 20. The difference with this one is they said they had brought in a company for wind-up proceedings. They did not. They contacted the company that they said they brought in, and they were like, we've never heard of Blint Homes, no idea who they are. So the article came out yesterday in the news.com.au paper. I did a little bit of snooping online, and the paper said they couldn't find the owner. His name is Ron Blint. So I actually went online, did a bit of snooping, and I found out he's currently, or just was, in Thailand. So he actually left the country while his company was going under. People are looking for answers, and he took off out of the country, like to like a 5-star resort.
Oh my
So-
gosh.
It's disgusting.
That is disgusting. We have a lot in our neighborhood where they were supposed to build, and the people now have like a big sheet. All they have is a fence. It's an empty lot. They have their cleared space for the house, and then their fence. And they recently put up this big sheet, and in spray paint it says, "Been waiting to build our house for 18 months." The company the builder that they used, has changed their name like 4 times. Like, I don't know if this happens in other states, but
Like Phoenixing?
I'm sorry?
Like Phoenixing, where they kill the company and then it rises again, but just under a different name?
Yeah, this is like their 4th time in 2 years, and it's disgusting. We should not allow that to happen. Yeah. So they have all this money they paid to a builder and no home, but they own a lot, so it's like, you know.
And it's like, where does that money go, and how are you protected? I know in Australia we have a builder's insurance, so if the builder goes under, you get a certain amount of money back. But it's lost time. You're paying rent on another apartment or whatever.
Yeah.
These people are going under, and that's why I was so mad about this. To
Yeah.
not be visible and then go to Thailand for a holiday while your company's going under, it just made me so mad. The reason I'm actually speaking about it is their company head office is 2 streets down from my apartment here. And that's I saw it in the news.
Wow. Yeah, construction companies own Utah. All of our like legislators are there. A lot of them run like ivory homes in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
We have ivories in the legislature, so Utah is very business friendly, and we tend not to see that as much. In fact, I was just looking at like the projections for 2065 because I'm a nerd and I also have to.
Right.
And construction is by far going to be the bulk of the new jobs in Utah because we're still getting so much migration. So builders here it doesn't hit them as hard, but they're also not very, the big builders kind of just run the state. So, but
Right.
That's very interesting.
That is. Yeah.
yeah, they get away with a lot.
So,
I just-
are you saying that a lot of people in government have ties to these builders too, through family, things like that?
They own them. Our legislature is a part-time legislature, so they are all business owners, and like we have a couple doctors, we have like pharmacy owners, like just and of course there are lawyers. We have one real estate lawyer. I won't say his name, but he's, in my opinion, extremely dishonest. And he gets them to pass all these predatory laws because what his law firm does is they do evictions. So
Oh, that's horrible.
they actually found out that there is a list, like he was in this thing where basically if you have a tough financial go, like it's like a blacklist kind of.
So
Like,
you can't get financing again in the future, that type of
yeah,
thing.
and there's like all these loopholes. Like Utah, remember when they said like that they were going to do the rent moratorium? Like there were
for
all these
COVID, yeah.
loopholes, put in so that landlords would profit. And yeah, if you're a renter in Utah, you have no rights. Like they just raised the rent. Like I know people that have had their rent raised by $800, and it's due next month.
That's happening here.
Yeah,
too.
that's happening in New York. Apparently, what happened is during the pandemic when everyone fled New York, the landlords had a tough go. Like they couldn't get anyone to live in New York, so they lowered the rents to like really cheap. It brought people in. But just this month, the New York Renters Association or whatever, they're the ones who decide how big a rent increase can go up. They signed off on basically whatever. And now the rents are going up like $1,600 a month. So like they were like 800, now they're like 3,200 or 4,200 a month for an apartment. It's mental.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's unfair and that's crazy. And I'm sorry, I played a joke on you while you're talking.
I'm like,
You're like, Joseph Smith is moving. He's smelling it.
he's looking for his next 14-year-old wife.
We want Jen to come back, Aimee. We don't want her to run away.
Or he's like, how you doing?
That's probably how he was.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, and by the way, Emma, you get destroyed if you don't let me do this. So
Right.
sorry, man. Yeah, when she actually, after he died, she did not like Brigham Young, and so she was like, I'm gonna do my own church. And I think it's called it's like the reorganized church. So they practice a lot of early Mormon, like Joseph Smith type of doctrines, but definitely not polygamy because she was not down for that. And
there you go.
Not like everyone like I always say, everyone here is inbred from polygamists. Like I'm totally inbred.
She kept the gene pool just a little bit cleaner than everybody else did, I guess.
That's why we all look the same.
Oh,
someone's told me when I very first started YouTube that they saw my face come up and they're like, Mormon! And they like ran and watched it because they were looking for someone who was Mormon to talk about the Daybell case. And they're like, oh my gosh, we found her. She has white teeth and she's not drinking.
Oh my gosh. Well, I will say this. It's not always that like everybody looks alike, but there definitely is, even here in Florida with the LDS church, there is a Mormon look. You don't do it with your hair in particular, but there's this thing that they do where they like curl their hair, brush it out, and then like flat iron the ends. They all wear it the same way. They all grow it really long, and they all do it. And I could pick out a Mormon around here real easily from one, the hair, and then the second thing is it's Florida, so they're always going to look like they're trying to be trendy and like other people, but the cuts are going to be weird and different.
Yeah.
So it's like the modern Sister Wives look.
Yeah, it's like cap sleeves.
Yes.
And then like the shorts down to the knees.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so hot. Like everyone I know always complains about wearing their garments in the summer. They're always like, "Oh, it's so hot." And
Yeah.
you can't take them off. But
Right.
What
yeah,
do the men
Utah,
wear? Do they all wear khaki pants or something?
no, like
No,
denim,
what
Bermuda
I have
shorts.
seen like down here a lot, like they will wear like sundresses with spaghetti straps or strapless dresses with like these layering t-shirts underneath. So like you can't see through it, but it's the lightest thing possible before it would be like net or like pantyhose. They're like, I think they call them tissue
Gents
sheets.
and stitches.
Yeah.
Because my sister wears that stuff. They're all like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna wear a spaghetti strap," and I'm like, "Oh, that's cute." And then she puts a freaking layering tee under it, and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah. I see a lot of that, but I see it a lot with the younger girls too. They'll do it with like tube tops. Like they'll put on like a tube top or whatever, and then they have that layering piece. And then it kind of reminds me of like in the 90s how we wore tank tops under everything, and then we had that thing. It's kind of like that. Yeah. So you see them trying to keep up with everything, but it's always some like weird layering piece. Yeah.
Yeah, but doesn't it make it hotter? Like it's one more like I would just wear the shirt and not the dress over it.
I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. I honestly, I think in the last like year or so, or maybe 2 years, clothes like, like obviously styles changed. So clothes had gone from being very baggy and oversized to much smaller, more cropped, more fitted. And that's always a problem too, except for like kimonos and stuff like that. And so when that happened, I think they started the layering tee thing again, because I mean, what else were they going to wear if they went to the store? If they were trying to shop like regular, oh my God, what do you call it? Like, it's not instant fashion. I can't think of what the word is.
I don't know.
But like,
Don't know either.
It's fast fashion. That's what it's called, fast fashion. So they want to be in and they want to be trendy and they don't want to look weird compared to everybody else. So they want things from the store, but then they have this weird layering thing. I think
Do they have a Mormon fashion week then for their own fashion trends?
They don't have a fashion week, but if you go to Utah, there are stores specifically for that. So like we have down east, I think. I don't know if that's a national chain or not. But there are also like boutiques. I sent Aimee a picture the other day. I was like, looky here.
I'm gonna look for it and see if I can post it.
Yeah, I probably have it too. But yeah, like they're like, that way you can dress modestly. And so it's great for the people that, that's what they're looking for. And they go in to Target and they say they can't find anything, but they charge so much. It's so like expensive to be Mormon here.
Yeah.
So it's like the clothes you'd find in Target are like, $15, but if you went to the Mormon store, it's like 45 or something.
Oh yeah. And then we have this blanket store here. It's called like Minky Couture that like everyone has to have. And
it has minky blankets. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like 100. I was like, no.
Here too. Yeah. But regular people, everybody wants minky blankets. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, no. But yeah, it's like a big market here. That, and then Aimee, was it you that was like, I found out that Utah had drive-through soda places?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm like, when you go into like fast food restaurants, sometimes they're like convenience stores and it's all touch screen and there's like all these different sodas, and then you can like, you pick Coke and then you can put lemon in it or whatever, and that's like a big thing. And my kids are always over there like mixing 90 different things that I was supposed to drink soda anyway, and I'm like, stop it. But I had read somewhere, and I like hotline Jen. I'm like, is this true? That they have all these soda places where like you drive through and you're like, I want a cherry limeade soda, but I want a shot of lemon and like a little bit of jalapeno, and it's like this whole cocktail. But
A
on
shot
top,
of holy water.
yeah. But no, listen. Then I saw some Mormon bunko thing on TikTok, and the lady, do you know what bunko is?
Oh, I know what bunko is.
Ping, do you know what bunko is?
No idea.
So it's like a dice game, and there's like prizes and stuff, and people get together and they switch tables and stuff, and like sometimes they serve dinner and snacks. It
So
just
it's like
depends
bingo for them.
Yeah, it just depends what the culture of your bunko club is. Like, I have a girlfriend that's in one, like, where the big prize once a week is like a $500 handbag. Okay. And then I have other friends that play in bunko groups where it's like a $10 gift card. Some people do a whole catered dinner. Some people do snacks. Some people like just booze it up, and it's an excuse to get drunk, and it's not really about the game and whatever. But the Mormon bunko thing that I saw was interesting because she was like, I'm all set up for bunko. And she had like Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, and then she had all these like flavored coffee creamers. Like, apparently, at least on this video, and I saw it some other places, is it true that like they mix creamer in with their soda?
I guess I haven't heard of that, but I mean, they can't have coffee,
Yeah.
so I don't
It
know
could
how
be
they
a
make.
localized thing, I guess. Like
It could
little
be,
groups have it.
yeah. Could we have like local, like, you know, root beer is big here, green Jello, funeral potatoes, like.
Funeral potatoes. What?
Roll potatoes, yes.
Oh my gosh, they're so good, and I'm so good at them. Like Michelle thinks she's the best, but I'm like, no, I make them, but unfortunately I have celiac, so I can't make them anymore. But yeah, but they are like if you go to a Mormon funeral, they will be there.
Is it like a potato salad type thing, or?
Yeah, so it's like potatoes and sour cream and cheddar, and then like on the top, like cornflakes. Like there's a few different kinds, but this is like the kind I do. So, and it's shredded potatoes, so you mix it with the sour cream, and it's really good.
Yeah, you had me at sour cream and potato.
Yeah.
I know, it sounds delicious. It's like a twice baked potato or something. But like,
Yeah, we have tater tot casserole too. I don't know if that's like, I feel like that's uniquely Mormon because it's super cheap and people have big families.
Is that the thing where they put the crushed up Cheetos on it sometimes? I've seen photos of it. I've seen people, they crush up the red hot Cheetos and put it on top of the potato gems. I don't know. I've seen that before.
Oh, but I can see people doing that. It's just tater tots and ground beef, from what I remember.
Oh, interesting. Oh, it's like, what do you guys call that one with the ground beef and the macaroni? What's that meal called over in the States?
Stroganoff?
No,
Hamburger
like
helper?
it's just got the ground beef and maybe like a red sauce and like macaroni. I can't remember what it's called. Beefaroni, maybe?
beefaroni. Yeah. I was like, is he talking about beefaroni? I don't think a lot of people make that anymore. I think they oh, my mom is so silly. Hi mommy. I think they eat it out of the can. It's like Chef Boyardee beefaroni.
Yeah, I remember that.
You gotta guys remember that food is called different things where I live here. So
Yeah.
you guys have tater tots. We call them potato gems here.
Oh,
Potato gems.
that sounds kind of more fancy.
It is a bit more. Well, the other name for them is potato royals or something like that. So
Okay, now so there is like a frozen potato company that makes something, and they call them. They're not tater tots. They're like if you cut off the end of a tater tot and you smushed it. It's a little patty, and I think they're called crowns.
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So it's hard to see. Let me see if I can make this bigger. This is the ad that she sent me. So I don't keep having to flip screens. If you can tell me when it's like big enough to
I think it's big enough, and then just like,
slide it up?
yeah.
Hold on. Whoa, what am I doing here? Why are you?
No.
Hold on.
Is that your mom? With the comment up on the screen?
I have to go back and look. Yes, that is my mom.
Hi, happy late
Hi,
birthday.
Nancy.
Yep, that's my mom. There was supposed to be a rocket launch at, I think it was like at 6:37, and then it got delayed until 10, like right now. And she's like, "Oh no, I was watching." And we have this thing, like my sister, my mom, and I, we all watch the rocket launches together, even though we're not like in the same area. We all run out to our backyards and like look at this. It's just like a way to like bond, you know? So so yeah. And I'm surprised because Miss Nancy never comments. So
It's
that's
great
fun.
to see her here.
I know. My mom's pretty awesome. Okay, so this is the Mormon circular. It's called like Colby and Claire Boutique.
Yeah, there's so many of like little. That's in Utah County, so it's of course very, very much like that. But like on the bottom, those are temple dresses, and they are. People make bank on temple clothes. Like you can get them from the church, and they're pretty reasonable. Like if you buy it from the church, it's not too bad. I actually looked up to see how much everything was. But like these companies, it's like those are probably 100 plus.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Because okay, don't laugh at this. I'm gonna stop sharing this screen. But when so I got married during COVID, and I was looking for something to work because we were going to the courthouse. We couldn't bring a witness, and I was just trying to like, I mean, other than being married, try to make it like something memorable, right? And so I was looking for kind of like a boho type of like white dress, and then it was like later on, you know, I'll have my real dress or whatever. I don't really want to wear a wedding dress anyway, but it was just like something, and I found a couple that I liked, but oddly enough, they were made by Mormon dress companies, and they were temple clothes, but they had like the petticoats and kind of like the sheer overlays. It was kind of like what I was looking for, like, you know, and but oh my God, one of them was like $325, and it was not like a branded label. You know what I mean? Like you weren't for a designer brand. You certainly weren't paying for a quality fabric. Because I could tell like the underneath part that you didn't really see, but the underneath part was like really shiny, and that's like a sign of it being like cheap.
Yeah.
Polyester. Yeah.
Yeah. And all this stuff. And I was just, I couldn't believe people spend that amount of money. I mean, I guess people do that for like communion dresses and stuff, and I guess maybe wedding dresses, but it's.
So these temple dresses, do they wear them every week to the temple for like their Sunday church type thing? Is that what it's for?
No, it's just when you go do temple work. So and it's for yourself or someone else. So you only wear them at the temple, and you have to wear like almost like they look like slippers, I think. That's just what I've seen. I never went through the temple, but everyone I know has. Like my siblings were married in the temple, and I got to wait outside. Like,
you had to wait outside. That's not nice.
No, that my friend's daughter got married. No, her son got married. The girl he married was LDS, but her family was not LDS, and they had pictures of her family standing outside the temple. They were not allowed in for that.
Yeah.
Wait, does that mean that the son would have had to convert to LDS too to get married?
In the temple, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
You have to have it. I recommend. When my sister got married, it was really sad because she was still behind the doors, and her photographer didn't show up. Like, she had the worst wedding of anybody I've ever known. So she was bawling because, you know, there's like this, like if you Google a Mormon wedding, you'll see people come out of the doors. Like it's a big, big photography moment, and her photographer wasn't there. And she was bawling, and I was just like at the glass door like looking in, and I was like, "Can I go in there?" And the guys are like, I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay." Like I'm like ET. Like, "Are you
Did that
okay?"
photographer mysteriously disappear after?
Yeah. What?
Did that photographer mysteriously disappear afterwards? 'Cause, like,
No, she had an ectopic pregnancy.
Oh
oh
no.
my
And
god.
so, yeah, so then she had to call another photographer, but he, it took him time to get all his stuff. So he was 2 hours late, and then he was trying to do his best. And my sister is my sister, and so she just could not get over it. So all her wedding pictures are like, you can tell she's been crying. And then I can't remember what else. Oh, my dad forgot all the silverware because they had it at like the reception at a park. So he had to drive back in traffic, so nobody could eat. It's
Oh,
just the
God.
worst.
I get it though. For some women, this is like their biggest thing they've been dreaming of for like, since they're a little girl. I understand if that moment's didn't happen and you didn't photograph it. It's a big deal. I kind of understand.
It is, and I mean, I've seen one of my friends has like what eight children. 7 of them are married now, and I've seen every child's wedding pictures come across Facebook now, and that opening of the door thing is iconic. It's like at least from what I've seen. It is a very important, like, I feel like even though I'm not LDS and I cannot possibly compete with Jen's life experiences, every time I see a Mormon wedding, I'm like, okay, here's how it's going to go. I'm going to see a picture of all the girls eating little foods like 2 days before and having this with like 100 people having her shower. Okay.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to see the mom and dad of the new couple all together. I'm going to see the doors opening. I'm going to see the bridesmaids lined up. And then I'm going to see pictures of, I was bridesmaid at her wedding. She was a bridesmaid in mine. All the series of all the weddings that they've been in. Like, it's a thing. And it's
The dip in front of the temple. Do you see that one?
yes.
There's like a dip.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, it's a big thing because it's after you've been sealed for eternity in that religion. So you're opening those doors to come out. Like, I am now with this person for eternity. And then if you haven't been through the temple before, it's the first time you just took out your endowments, which is basically just like you promised you'd be loyal to the church. We don't have time to go into it all, but so it's like, it's almost like you're coming out like a new person in some
Right.
ways.
It's like your rebirth or
Yeah.
it is. It's a milestone. It's like the new chapter in your life, and your name has changed, and you're now somebody's wife, and like you're bonded forever. But if he decides he wants to take somebody else, he can, not you.
Like if you get divorced.
Terrible.
Yeah. He has to, he has to go find you, right?
Yes, he has to let you in. I don't know, some things have changed, but yeah, you have to, I guess, wait at the veil, and then he'll guide you through. And I remember my aunt told me, like, because they have their temple names, like her husband could know her name, but she could not know his name.
Right.
And then, but like the prophet, like President Nelson, he's still sealed to his wife that died. So when he dies, according to theology, he'll have 2 wives. And then whoever else is assigned to him.
But he knows your name, you don't know his, so he can ghost you in the afterlife if he wants.
Yeah, totally.
That's not cool.
Yeah, he's a player up there.
Yeah, and then you're just standing by the veil like a bad like John Hughes movie.
Yeah, like, please.
I know.
Oh, and yeah, there are some people, like, if she couldn't marry in the temple, maybe she didn't, or I don't, it's probably not, but I know a lot of couples, young couples, that they get all the way to that point, and then suddenly it's like, oh, well, we just have to wait a year to get married, or 6 months because they accidentally did the dirty.
Oh.
And I think it's like a year. Like, if you do it, you have to wait a year because you're supposed to be a virgin.
Wait. First of all, I love this comment. There's just way too much stuff going on in that religion. It's so extra. I think I need a shirt that says like LDS Church. It's just so extra. Something like that. I think I need it.
LDS extra, and have it like a branding, like a gum.
Yeah.
Some Mormon just heard that and went to their little silhouette, and they're
Damn
making
it.
them now.
Yeah.
You're gonna see them on Etsy.
Exactly. Coming to Etsy soon. But okay, you were just talking about, you said how do you accidentally do the dirty? Is that like a soaking thing where you're like, oh, like I didn't realize that, like
He moved during the soaking, and then it's no longer soaking,
Well,
so now
no,
they have to wait a year.
No, because there's another term that goes with soaking, and it's I read about it on a BYU blog actually. And I think I asked Jen about it, and she said, yeah. So it's like, this is so perverted. So the couple is soaking, and their friends are in the room at the same time, and they're jiggling the bed, because if you don't move, it's okay. But if they jiggle the bed and there's a little then it doesn't count. Like, it's so stupid.
That is what happens when you are so
Sexually
weird
repressed.
about, you think, because like pornography is evil in the church, and when you are so sheltered sexually, all you want to do is have sex. Like,
It's
so
like
these,
that thing, isn't it, where if you tell someone not to do something, all they want to do is do it. So
yeah. So these teenagers, a lot of times it's like, oh, isn't he going on a mission? Well, he has to wait. And then you're like, because you guys.
Mm-hmm. It's just so weird. Like, I mean, I think a lot of teenagers are like that, and I think it happens like across the board or whatever. I mean, of course, there's like people that are stronger about waiting and temptation or whatever it is that you do. But I think what I find it fascinating about young Mormons is that they've like created this little subculture of rules, like semantics, like it doesn't count because I wasn't moving.
I want to know who was the first one who made up that thing and then went to their temple and was like, "Why? Hey, look, I found the loophole here," because I want to know who that was.
We didn't move. No, well, what's sad is that when you go to, like, you're getting your temple recommend, like, there are different, like, you can get a temple recommend at 12, but it's just to do baptisms for the dead or whatever. So when you go to your bishop and you confess, a lot of times it's the girl that gets punished more. And
Makes sense in that religion, doesn't it?
yeah, so this one time I did a little something with a friend in high school, and his bishop, I hadn't gone to church in a while. His bishop called my house to tell my father that I was a little whorish, and he wanted my bishop's information so that he could tell my bishop so that I could have to repent or whatever. And I didn't even know he called my house because my dad didn't tell me for like a few months. And I was like, I guess so-and-so is going on a mission now. And I was like, he's really not worthy to go on a mission, but so I was like, I guess he's going on a mission. And he's like, yeah, his bishop called a few months ago, something about like you and him. I was like, oh, and he knew because, my dad's a Mormon. And he was like, yep, you want to tell me anything? Nope.
It's very gossipy, isn't it, this religion?
Oh, it's a very gossipy religion. Like Melanie Gibb in the Daybell case, when people were like, oh my gosh, she's so, like, I'm like, that's every Relief Society person I grew up with. That's so relatable to me, that like busybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we call them
I feel like, Jen, you would be a great sort of like a role model for girls like that have moved away from the church and kind of like, what do we do now? Because you've kind of done it all. Like you like,
I'm like, well, you want to go on the straight path or the gayer path?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Can you guys see that? I just found this article.
Oh, filming themselves jump humping.
Mormon teens on TikTok are filming themselves jump humping, a tactic used to avoid thrusting during penetrative sex. Okay, like, oh my god.
They still have the flower.
They have the flower. Let me make the screen smaller because I'm having trouble doing this. So, like, what are the bullet points? It says Mormon TikTokers are sharing tactics used to get around chastity rules called jump humping and soaking. Soaking involves one person inserting their penis into another person's vagina and staying completely still. Then a third person jumps on the bed to create motion that simulates a thrusting effect.
That's just so gross.
Isn't it more bad because there's a, like, you know,
third
say the act
person
of
in the
sex.
room?
There's a third person in the room. You're right.
Yeah, and it
Isn't
makes
that
it
worse than the act?
Yeah, it makes
I
it
would
super
think.
weird.
But
Yeah,
also, I think the guidebook, I had to read it because I had to read how horrible my sins were recently. And I believe it says penetration. I will tell you that I was so sheltered growing up that when I read like in the manual, because they give you one when you're like 12, it's called Especially for You. The one they give now is much nicer, but the one I had was like, you're going to hell. It was like, avoid petting. And I honestly didn't know what it was until I was like an adult. And I was like, that never made sense to me why you couldn't pet a dog. Like I was thinking of petting
dogs?
animals. And I was like, why aren't you allowed to pet?
So did you avoid everyone's pets for like 15 years?
Yeah.
No, I was just like, that's a weird rule. But I didn't want to ask because I was so sheltered. And I'm like, well, I guess everybody else knows what it means for sure. Like,
Yeah, well, I think that happens to a lot of people. I will tell you that that I had heard petting too, and I thought it was the same thing, like a dog. So I was a heavy petter because I love dogs. and I also came home one time. I think it was like 6th or 7th grade, and I told my mom, like I won't use the names, but I told my mom that this boy was screwing some girl behind a 7-Eleven after school, and she was like, you saw it? And I was like, well, yeah, I saw it. And like a bunch of us saw it. We watched it. And she was like, huh. And what do you think that means? And I was like, well, kissing, of course. Because I was like, you know, and she's like, no, don't go repeating stuff like that. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, don't, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
my cousin thought you got pregnant from French kissing.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I can see where people, yeah, because sex isn't explained to them and they just scare the Jesus out of them.
And that's really the problem. That's like, you have to tell people what it is so they know to avoid it. You can't just be like, avoid it.
Yeah.
Is teen pregnancy very high in the Mormon religion?
No, like Utah's rate, I think, has gone down a lot. I think it was higher when I was younger. I know a lot of people that have, but it's definitely not. And I sometimes wonder if it's because, so if you get pregnant as a teenager and you are a member of the church, you are supposed to give that baby up for adoption no matter what to a nice Mormon couple. And it doesn't matter if you're 19 and you're engaged and you just is like, oh, uh-oh. It's like, well, you weren't married, so you need to give them to someone temple worthy.
Oh,
wow. I wonder how many kids actually have been brought up in that situation. Probably a lot.
Yeah, it's like, it's sad because you get so shamed for it. But I've always been like, I bet it's really like, it seems low, but it's a bunch of people going like to the clinic and nobody's
going out of
the
state
stats.
somewhere.
You know, because all of that data, unless you're, I guess you can look at medical records and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm surprised it's not higher. It was higher when I was a kid, but I think people are so indoctrinated.
Hopefully the internet is providing better education, like for people, not even just Mormons in your state, but just everywhere.
Yeah.
Compared to like the 90s and 80s.
I don't know though, because these right now, right this minute, I go into TikTok and I could pull up. It's not going to be a parody account. It's not. It's going to be a real thing of somebody on TikTok talking about how not to get pregnant because they're LDS and they're young. And it's going to be the most absurd thing you've ever heard. Like, you have to have a red lifesaver in your mouth and like...
And some saran wrap.
And yeah, well, and sing Toad the Wet Sprocket and, wiggle your toes while it's happening. And it, like, it's not a joke. Like, it's crazy.
My daughter had a friend that got pregnant in high school, and she literally asked her, if I drink bleach, will that get rid of it?
Yeah.
Oh
And my
my
daughter's like,
God, that's
no, no,
scary.
no, it won't. No,
Yeah.
like, don't do that.
Yeah.
But she could not bring herself to tell her parents. And so it gets really sad. But I think the internet's probably the worst thing that ever happened to the Mormon church. That and the CES letter. Like, but the internet, they even talk in conference about like being careful on that. But now they've realized how profitable the internet is. So and social media, so they are pushing more for it. But like church sites, not other websites.
.lds sites. Do they have their own domain? I wonder.
Oh yeah, they have. They own like everything. So I always laugh because people will try and correct me. They'll be like, "It's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints," but they still own all of the Mormon.org. They still have, like, if you go like Mormons and Gays, and on YouTube you can look up Meet the Mormons. They had like a huge movie that they released just a couple years before Nelson took. He never liked the word Mormon. And so once he became prophet, he was like, that's a terrible thing. And so they were like, now we're the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I can't say anything else in my Twitter post because I just took up all the characters.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Never thought about that. It's a lot. Can I share one more thing? If you guys
Sure.
don't mind. Okay, it's not like my little fun websites, but I was going to show you this right here. So the reason I'm showing you this is not because it's Florida and I live here or whatever. There are a lot of cases here in Florida that you all are aware of. And at one point in my YouTube foray, I did some work with the parents of Taylor McAllister. She was murdered by her much older boyfriend. She was on drugs. She was discarded in an alley, made to look like a prostitute. They ran her over with a car, and they're just trying to get her poor family. They just want the police to acknowledge, that she was murdered and she wasn't just a junkie in the street, or because I shouldn't have said junkie, but her parents were very open. She was a drug user. She was really struggling in her life. And they own all that, and they knew that about her. But
Doesn't make the person underneath any less loved. So
exactly. And it's like, because from the moment they found out that Taylor was a drug user and had run some ads on Backpage or whatever, her boyfriend was this really rich guy. And she probably from abuse of drugs and physical abuse, she died in his home, and he paid some guys to go get rid of her. And they basically dropped her like naked in a very disgusting position in an alley and then ran her over with a car. And the police aren't interested in going after these guys because they're looking at Taylor like, well, what kind of person is she? Like, she's not worthy. So anyway, her case is considered unsolved because she didn't get that murder conviction and she didn't get that homicide thing. But Florida has put out these playing cards, this nonprofit, and it's all the unsolved cases in Florida. That's some gross earwax thing.
they are fantastic. I've seen them before. They're really good.
The earwax or the cards?
Both.
I'm kidding. So it's Project Cold Case. It helps the families of unsolved homicides across the country by bringing awareness to the victims and circumstances around their deaths. So the Jacksonville organization recently developed a deck of playing cards featuring 52 of the state's cold cases. Each card displays a victim's picture and a short description of what happened. There are 4 cases from Pinellas County, including Taylor McAllister. So I love their family. Bill and Leslie are amazing people. I did a YouTube show with them once, like I interviewed them. I'm literally, I'm gonna cry. Literally afterwards, Bill was like, "Good job, kid." Like,
Oh.
like, they're talking about their deceased daughter and all her problems and all the things that have happened to them. But this is a really interesting thing that they're doing. I think I'm going to order us that, just not just to support it. I mean, to support it, but also to share with you guys, and maybe like we'll give them away later.
We should give some away. Yeah, I was about to say,
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and then we'll see. The only thing with the giveaways, guys, I gotta just tell you this up front. I can't look at Taylor's picture because I'm gonna get upset. I have to be careful with that because there's some of you that are out of the country, and it makes it very, very hard for us to send anything like physical. So,
maybe if they were outside the country, if you really did want to, you would have to contribute for the postage. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, either you're going to have to pay for the postage, or what I can do is maybe find an Amazon or give you an Amazon gift card, and you can, I don't know, or a digital gift card, like a Visa digital card that I can email to you. That's usually the way that I like to do giveaways. It's something that I can give you digitally that you can open right away. I know you got it, all that good stuff. So maybe you can like order it yourself, and like the same deal. Like we'll pay for the cards, but you guys pay for the shipping. We'll work something out.
Because shipping to Australia, even for a pack of cards, is probably like $40. So,
do you know that? It was like almost a year ago. I was going to send you some cookies, and one of my friends from childhood, her sister lives in Australia now, and I was so frustrated with what it was going to cost me, like $100 to send you cookies. Okay.
as good as cookies are, it's not really worth the $100.
I know. It's like I should just send him some money and be like, go buy your own cookies. But to the point where I was like asking Jeannie's sister, I was like, okay, so where are you in Australia? Can you go buy like what would be really good in Australia, like an extra little special bakery or special treat? And can you it's really hard. So I try not to do anything like tangible as giveaways.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Aimee, I wanted to just add something to your playing card thing.
Yeah.
The Australian government actually saw the ones in Florida and really liked the idea. So they have actually printed up a set of cards of the the most cold cases they want to get solved in Australia, and they don't give it out to the public. They actually put them in the prisons and hand them out to the prisoners, hoping that they will call with information.
That is genius. I wonder if they do that here. I'm going to inquire about that.
Yeah.
I'm going to, let me write that down. I'm going to write a letter to the, ask if shared in prisons.
Are you okay to stay a couple more minutes, Jen? Or do you have to run?
No, I could say a couple more minutes.
Okay.
This is fun. I have thought about covering, and I want to cover those kind of cases, like the cases that don't get the media. And what I run into is that there's nothing that I can find on them. And so I don't know how you can, like, what you've done to, because I don't think people realize that, because I've had people say, why don't you cover this or that case? And it's like, because I looked at it and I can literally not find anything on it except one news report.
Yeah, it can be very hard. I won't say the person that sent me the stuff, but I was talking about with some other people. I was talking about a young girl that's missing. Her name's Kaylee Jones, and there's not a lot on her. She's been missing since early June of this year. What I did find, and what I think could be important, basically, it is always important to share their missing flyer. Maybe double check for the family that they're in NamUs, because sometimes families miss that step because, nobody prepares for having a missing child. I've wanted a way to talk about this before, and I have in a certain way, but they say there's no handbook for when your child is missing. There actually is. It's NamUs, and it's very thorough, and they have made that website very easy to use now. You can literally put up video footage of your missing loved one. You can put up still pictures of your missing loved one. If you can include audio so that you can hear their voice, like if they have a distinctive like speech impediment, anything like that. One of the things with Kaylee is that she is autistic, high functioning, but in still photos, she's different than when you see her, because I've seen videos of her. She has those mannerisms. She has like a little tick she does. You know what I mean? Like it makes a difference. It makes a difference to see somebody animated as opposed to that thing. So I think it's always important to share like how they went missing, what the circumstances are, if there's a police report and their poster, and if that's all you can do, that's all you can do. But when we were talking about this the other day, a woman sent me this article and she was like, there's another girl who liked to be online, had a secret life in chat groups, was autistic, and disappeared too. And they're about the same age. And it's like, okay, so then like this is ADD. Like I start a project and get all excited about it. And then I'm like, shiny ball, and I forget about it. It's not that it's not important. It's just I forget about it, and then it becomes a burden to me. And then I get a new notebook so I don't have to look at it because I build myself. But I did start looking for young girls that are disappearing under the same circumstances with that. And I remember, I haven't found it yet, but somewhere there is a crime classification index where somebody has logged a lot of this stuff. And so I need to go there and look. And that might be like another important way. Like if you're going to talk about one girl that disappeared under those circumstances and there's a lot in common, maybe talk about them together. And because as like somebody that has a YouTube channel, I don't mean to sound ugly, but sometimes, like Jen says, people will send you a name and you can't find anything. And you're like, I can't do a show on that. Like, what am I going to do? That 5 minutes and I'm done. Like, what, like, you know, it's not that you don't care or anything, but you have to have something else and what have you. But what if you could just put in people's minds like, hey, these cases might not have anything to do with each other, but here's 3 people that disappeared, similar circumstances, same thing, hiding the internet from their parents, possibly being groomed online, and then, you know, talk about all of them together and put all that information out. And then I guess you always hope that somebody else finds a little bit more or reaches out to somebody that knows somebody, and then they do something and it keeps the name out. I know in Kaylee's case, her case, it's from June, it's going cold. I mean, it's August. You know? And it's just horrible. It's like, how does a case go cold in 2 months? Well, the police are like, well, it looks like she's a runaway. I don't give a rat's ass if she's a runaway. Bring her back home. Because as a parent, right? Like if your child at 16 does something really bad and they're not emancipated from you, you're responsible, right? Or if you're Lori Vallow and you can't produce your children, they're going to say, I need you to come to Rexburg and show me Tyler and JJ. I'm sick of hearing that they're okay or whatever. You got to show them. Like,
they're fine. They're happy.
Yeah, exactly. So let's role reverse this. If the parents of Kaylee Jones could not produce her, somebody would say, well, you're responsible. You got to make her show. But then if she goes off and they report it, they're like, oh, just a runaway. So
Can't have it both ways, can you?
No, you can't. And I'm going to say something like a little crazy right now, but could Lori Vallow have prolonged this if she said, oh, well, Tyler ran over with JJ? Do you think the authorities would always say, well, we're not looking into it then because they're run away?
Well,
he would have been in like 8 though, and he had special needs, so probably not. But
so do these girls though.
Aren't they older though?
They're like 13, but they need medication. They you know, they're on like risperidol or risperidone, depending on, you know, what you call it.
And sorry, Jen, I didn't mean to speak over you.
Oh no, no, that's fine. I kind of interrupted you guys, so
No, but you kind of have to like taper down off of these things. She has sensory issues. Like if you're gonna put her in the wrong situation or whatever, like it's gonna be traumatic. If somebody takes her and doesn't put her in the right clothes, it's gonna be traumatic. I mean, my understanding, I read some stuff where it was weird. It wasn't really said by anybody in the case, but when you notice like her pictures, a lot of them she's wearing like bigger clothes. Like she would only wear, like she was probably like a women's size 0 or a junior size like 4. I don't know, like little. She was a
Very small.
little girl, but she was wearing like the sweatshirts from like the men's section and the 3XL, like hanging down to her. That's what she liked because it had to be loose and cocoon like, and she'd like to pull her hands in and pull her feet up in it and sit on the couch. And that's like, you know, those are important things and to talk about.
we have wardrobe issues.
Mm-hmm.
And food too. Like I seriously, the kid has eaten a Lunchable. I know everyone's gonna be like, well, and I'm like, I can only get him to eat this stuff, you guys, for every day for 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I don't even want to know what your body looks like on the inside.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they will pick one food and fixate on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they all have like their little things, right? So like my son goes to a special school and like his is time. Like everything is time, everything 5 minutes, and it better be 5 minutes, or you know, we have to get to the school at 7:15. So like thinking about that and how vulnerable they are and how like they can't break routine.
No, even if you don't feel like you have a strict routine, there's still the ritual of like how you do things. Like, well, JJ Vallow had breakfast at Burger King in the morning on the way to school. Like if you didn't do the breakfast at Burger King, there was going to be a meltdown. Doesn't make him a brat or spoiled or anything. It's about the ritual. It's about marking the time. It's about anxiety, knowing what to expect.
What makes their world feel better.
Yeah. There's comfort in knowing what's going to happen, knowing what you're going to eat, knowing where you're going to sleep, knowing how long something takes. And I know, like, I read about Kaylee. I think she, even I don't know if it was her or the other girl, so I don't want to, let's just not say it was her. But one of the girls exclusively ate chicken nuggets. That was it.
Oh, like, yeah, I saw that. The girl who only ate chicken nuggets for like 18 years or something.
Yeah. I mean, it was hard to introduce anything else. It was the chicken nuggets or they didn't eat. And, you know, as a parent, when you're parenting a child that has these tendencies, it's not about like, well, you got to keep trying and diversify. No, it's a whole nother situation. You don't know what it is. It could be the feeling that it is going down their throat. It could be that they ate red sauce once on something and they have heartburn and they don't know how to explain it to you because they're too little and they didn't get it from the chicken nuggets, the only other food they ever ate. And so for life, it's going to be the chicken nuggets because they never want to go back. It's just, it is what it is. But all these things are like, I don't even know why we started talking about this, but all these things with children are very, very important when you're trying to describe who somebody's looking for, because you may see somebody that looks like this little girl somewhere with somebody not eating and having a fit or trying to rip the tag out of their shirt.
It might be more identifying than their actual what they look like by their actions.
See, yes, thank you. Sometimes my mind just gets all and Ping is like good at like
like come back.
Yeah. I'll clear out all the garbage. Yeah.
Squirrels.
Squirrel. there's a whole nest in here right now.
Yeah, you pick your battles.
Yeah.
Like I've had, and when people aren't used to that, like my in-laws and even my wife, like they haven't been around children that have autism, and my son is high functioning too, and so it's almost worse sometimes because they expect when you say, "Oh, my child is autistic," they're like they literally picture someone like in the corner, not moving, not you know, a nonverbal. And Krisha
Worst case
told me.
scenario.
Yeah, Krisha told me that a lot of people they thought JJ was nonverbal. Like she's like, no, he talked all the time.
Yeah.
He did that. But he also had to have his scriptures every night. She told me even when he would go stay with Kay and Larry, he'd be like, it's time to read my scriptures.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's because it was misreported in the beginning. And, people latched on, and then other outlets, like they did in the media a lot, not the family, obviously, but a lot of the news outlets made it sound like he was nonverbal, he was unable to communicate. And I think that got latched on too.
I think sometimes they like that narrative. Like, it makes it a little more dramatic.
Yeah.
Court TV.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, I tried to put this up on the screen. PB&J says, which live stream did Aimee talk about how to detect hidden cameras? That was P and I talked about that. I binged all and can't remember. I may have a peeping Tom neighbor outside my bathroom. Oh my God, that's horrible. So, Ping, do you want to, because you're so much more
well, yeah.
And like telling people how, like, what they can do, but that there is one thing that's like the biggest one, and he'll tell you.
The biggest one, looking for stuff at waist height. Is that the one from last time?
No. Yeah, well, looking for something. No, there is something you can order from Amazon.
Oh, right. There's a lot of things you can order from Amazon, but I can't remember now. Are you talking about the scanner?
Yeah, if you think that there is a hidden
scanner? Yeah,
if there's a hidden video, or if somebody's secretly recording you, you're going to want to check things like you said, at waist high, alarm clocks, things that, if you see like a light, if something's overly reflective, sometimes that's it. But outlets, but for your peace of mind, you can buy these scanners over Amazon, and they're fairly reliable.
Yeah, they're fairly good. They pick up the IR, the IR signal. You can also scan through your Wi-Fi, turn on your phone and go to the Wi-Fi thing, open it up, and just check for any open Wi-Fi like names that you've never seen before. If you're always connecting to your little Wi-Fi in your house, you would know the ones that have been around your home most often. And if you see anything new pop up that looks like ipcamera.com or something, you should be a bit suspicious.
But let's wrap it up in a few minutes. But I was just going to ask you. I think I've told this before, but I'll tell it again. So I have this thing that I like to do. I always open up my phone and look at the Wi-Fi around me, because I love it when people have really kitschy like names for their Wi-Fi. And it was so inappropriate. I was going to this funeral, and I parked like on the side of the road next to the cemetery, and
You're like cracking up laughing.
Yeah, I was cracking up laughing because there were houses across the street. You know how that happens sometimes, like an old church and a cemetery, and people live across the street. And the Wi-Fi said, "I see dead people."
Oh my God.
I just lost it. I was laughing so hard. I mean, it was literally like losing it. It was so funny. Do you have any good ones like that? Do you know any good? I mean, there's that pretty fly for a Wi-Fi. Like, you've seen that one.
Our one's just called what in the butt, because we thought it was funny. And everyone's like, what the hell?
Ours is boring. Like Nunyer. I've had people use Nunyer, not your Wi-Fi. Nunyer. I had like a really funny one once, and I saved a picture, and now I can't remember. I was trying to remember it, but it was pretty funny. So
the best one I've seen is like the one that says like surveillance ban number 4, and it's like it freaks out all the stoners in your block.
Yeah, I've seen people name them like FBI or DEA response unit or stuff like that, and people freak out. Ours isn't named. It's boring. It's like Spectrum 24-5G or whatever.
I'm gonna go to my sister's neighborhood and I'm gonna name mine Strengthening Members Committee, and everyone in her neighborhood get out because we're like, oh no, are we gonna get called to the bishops?
That's funny.
That would be
If
good.
you
That'd
don't
be good.
know, the Strengthening Members Committee is a committee that investigates members of the church who they feel are not following the guidelines. They will typically say that it's people like Chud and Lori, but really it tends to be the more outspoken, progressive Mormons. So like John DeLynn, who's got a YouTube channel, and then like some of the people you've seen in the headlines, they don't tend to investigate people like Chad and Lori much. Hence
So
the
it's
reason
like an
why Chad
internal
didn't get a letter.
police.
Huh?
So it's like an internal police of the church.
Yeah. Yeah. But Chad didn't get a letter till 2020 when he was sitting in jail. And I had so many people coming to my channel. He was exited in 2018. And I was like, no, where's the letter? We don't know. They don't publish it.
No, and he wasn't sneaking in.
Yeah, right.
He wasn't sneaking in. They were walking in. Even back when Lori Vallow was talking to when Charles Vallow is talking to the police in Gilbert, right? And Gabe Bonilla is standing there with him, who is his bishop and a good family friend. Charles mentions that she's going to the temple like 8 hours a day and she's doing all this stuff. And her bishop is hearing about how she's talking about how she's a translated being, all these things. And she went to that temple the next day and the day after and the day after and the day after, all up while the kids were being murdered, while Tammy's being murdered. Chad's going with her, so they knew. We're not excommunicated, and they didn't have their cards pulled, and they weren't sneaking in. They were walking in with their noses up in the air, doing whatever the fuck they wanted to.
They're like, we've had a second anointing. Yeah, and like what a lot of people don't know is, I'm going to say excommunicated is no longer excommunicated. It is actually membership withdrawal.
Right.
When you are, like if you are exed, you are still expected to go to church. You don't get kicked out of church. In fact, they encourage members to continue repenting or going to church. And if you're like squeaky clean in a year, you're back in, baby.
It's like a performance plan. It's like you're on probation at work. You still have your job, but you better watch it. You better do these things. And in that amount of time, if you've cleaned up your act, then you're right back in. You're reabsorbed, right?
Yeah. And like, so Chad Daybell, so if you commit murder, you would have to get, like, if he's like, oh, I want to get back in, he would have to get that approved from the first presidency. Like those types of crimes. So I don't know how often they would approve someone, but yeah, it's not like this. People are like, oh, excommunicated. That means we can completely separate these people and say they're not Mormon, when it's like, nah, their names are still on the records.
Yeah. Well, it's a whole conversation, but I don't think in the mind of the Mormon church that, I mean, this is probably pretty disgusting to say, but I don't think they're willing to lose 2 murderers because they're so concerned with the number of members that they have.
When I went to that prepper conference and I walked in and everybody was like, oh, what's it like? It's a totally separate cult, right? I was like, no, it's basically like walking into something I would have walked into when I was 10. It's not. What's extreme are their political beliefs. Those are pretty extreme. But their religious beliefs are Orthodox Mormonism. Like, it's not, they can point to a scripture. I mean, it's not like they're inventing things. They can go right to a scripture or a talk that Brigham Young gave, and they can be like, see, right here, it says I can seek a second comforter. I can see Jesus.
Yeah.
So how do you argue with that?
Do they mean a blanket? I can seek a second blanket, not a second wife.
I know some of the words are so funny, like in terminology, which
Yeah.
I guess is why people are like, "What's this mean?"
Well,
Yeah, I get it.
it is weird. I mean, anytime you make up your own vocabulary and words that don't translate or don't have the same meaning outside of the church, and then the secret, how secretive you are or the LDS churches anyway, for me it causes concern. I mean, it's no different than wondering what they're doing down at the Masonic temple, or just anywhere where it's like that. And I've heard people say, like, well, there's weird words that we use in religion, like across the board, like Catholics, Presbyterians, all the stuff. But the thing about that is that most of the time that comes from the Latin language. It's not like we just made up words. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's more consistent. And I think that's one thing that I have learned is that things that I think are completely normal and terminology I think is completely normal, people are like, what is that? And then there's the whole semantics issue where, like someone would correct you and say, it's not secret, it's sacred.
Mm-hmm.
Sacred. They always say sacred, but it's like, well, if you look at the definition, it's secret. It's not sacred in the definition.
Yeah.
But
And
it's a very semantics. That's a lot of the arguments that you get. It's a matter of semantics.
well, I can see sacred. Like, I can't, there's certain things, like even in the church I was brought up in, that I don't want to say anything was so much that you couldn't talk about. I mean, there was nothing you couldn't talk about. You could talk about everything. So we'll just drop that. I'll say this. If you go to join a Presbyterian church tomorrow, if you want to go, they're just going to tell you, this is what we believe. Come on down. We have donuts afterwards. Tell me what you think. No pressure. They're not going to call you 10 times. They're not going to give you forms. They're not going to tell you, like, think really hard about this, because if you want to leave, you have to have an exit interview, and we've got paperwork, and like, there's none of that shit. You just, like, you go or whatever. I haven't been to a Catholic mass in probably 25 years. Nobody's chasing me down over that. But if I went in tomorrow, I would be embraced. It'd be like, it wouldn't, and I wouldn't have to show a card that said that I paid my money last week, or who are you? Because we haven't ever seen you around. I could go to any Catholic church in the country and it would be fine. I wouldn't have to prove that I was Catholic. They don't even care if you are Catholic. You could just go sit in there. Same with Presbyterian and all the other religions. I think the problem is when you show an interest in a religion and they won't tell you what it's about. They want you to join, but they won't tell you what it's about. That's weird.
Yeah,
That's always the worst one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. They have very specific, like, what they will and won't tell you. Like, there's, like I said, I got to find it again, but there's a whole missionary training manual. There are things like, and I know from former missionaries, where they're told to look through the obituaries for people that have lost a child, because those people are vulnerable. And guess what? The greatest selling point of the church is forever families. And it don't, like, that would draw anyone. And yeah, it's definitely like they tell you all these things, but they're glossing over things. And it's very, I remember I went to, when I first left, I was like, I have to have a religion. And so I went to I don't even know, just like a regular Christian church. I don't know. One of the, they have like the guitars and
Yeah.
stuff.
Like Hillsong?
Not like that, but like that kind of style. Like, it's just
New
Christian.
Age. New Age.
Non-denominational.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember sitting in there going, this is weird, because I don't think that it's, and I think any Mormon would argue with me. I think they would really push back on this, but it is different. It's definitely not. I always say, like, Mormonism is church-centered, prophet-centered, Book of Mormon centered, and other religions are Christ-centered. And Mormons will say Christ is at the center of our gospel, and he is. Like, I always say they are, because he is at the center of the gospel, but it's not as like when I went to that church, I was like, wait, why are we're still talking about him? Like, and
Right.
I'm being facetious, but it was very different. And I'm like, when you push back on that, you should go to another church, because you will be like, this is a totally different vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't, I don't know. It's weird. I just, any church with all these like agreements and you can't leave and we're taking you off this, or you have to have a meeting to that's all very strange to me. And contractual, and you don't
It's all very like rule based, isn't it? Rather than it's your obligation, rather than you must follow our rules. Like other churches, like Christians, are more like you should follow this and you should come, but it's up to you. As where the Mormon LDS is like, you better do this, or we're going to kick your ass and we're going to kick you out or something. Like they're very strict, is what comes across.
I mean, we don't have time to talk about it tonight. It is a conversation worthy of having every time it comes up. And that is, if you take a checklist of cults, one of the things you're going to find is that you get members and then you have these contractual obligations, and then you encourage them to 100% submerge. And one of the ways you get them and control them is that their income is somehow sourced from something church sanctioned, church owned, or by a member of the church. So meaning if you ever want to leave, you're losing your friends. You might be losing your home or the bank that you work at, or the bank, wherever you bank. You might have trouble, like, getting another mortgage or getting another loan or something, because that's where you bank. You're going to lose your job and your income, and your wife is not going to be able to babysit anymore. And like, you know what I mean? It's like everything across the board is going to go, because slowly but surely everything is bathed in this religion, and you have to have an outside and external safety net in order to leave, or you are seriously effed.
Yeah, I lost my family.
Yeah.
I lost my sister.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't speak.
Horrible.
I ruined our forever family. So
it's very sad, Jen.
Yeah.
Is it sort of like the Amish when, like, when they do that Rumspringer, and then like they can leave to go to the city and stuff for like a little while, but then when they come back, they have to make a choice, and if they choose to stay in the city, they get basically, they're not known by the community anymore. Is that very similar in the Mormon LDS if you leave?
I wouldn't say it's like obvious, like they're not like you are shunned, but I would say that it's definitely, and it's not the same in like every state, but it is definitely like you do lose your social connections, and you do, like, if you're the family in the neighborhood that's not Mormon or non-practicing, and when I moved into neighborhoods when I was older, I was non-practicing. There is this like real push to involve you, and then when you make it clear, like, listen, like I just say, listen, my husband is not for this. Like, he will not convert. Then it's like, oh, okay, and then like you're out. They're like, well, we're never gonna get those guys to come back, and so it is kind of like a shunning type of thing, but it's not obvious because they still want to appear nice, or they still are nice. A lot of them still are nice, but and I think a lot of times they don't even realize that that family that you guys were trying to basically fellowship feels now like they're not a part of the neighborhood, because after they made it clear that they weren't interested in joining, you have completely gone off, or you have your own little cliques, and it does change. But I would say definitely, especially if you're gay, like you're gonna have a hard time. It is one thing, like when I left the church, like, this is a really dark thought to have, but I was like, there's a reason why Elizabeth Smart stayed in the spotlight over and over and over. One, because her family was in the media, her uncle ran Rib, but also because like when she went missing, it was hundreds and hundreds of people looking for her day one, because it was all like their ward members and their stake members. And so
Right.
you have so many connections. Like if someone in my family goes missing, it's like, well, luckily I have YouTube. I just call all the creators and be like, get on your channel.
Right.
But nobody in my neighborhood is going to, because they're all ward members and they don't know me. Well, they definitely don't know me now because I withdrew my membership. So they know for sure now that I am an apostate.
Right.
So it's more of a cultural thing. I think it changes, you know, like I have cousins that are totally awesome and they're not like that at all because they weren't raised in Utah. Like,
Right. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
so.
Well, listen, we are getting late on time, and I don't want to be accused of clickbait. I can't talk. I don't want to be accused of clickbait. I did put Gabby Petito up on the thumbnail because we can talk about it more later. We're not going to like read the documents. Like I said, this is True Crime Light. I just want to know, like, quick response, like from you and from Ping, what your thoughts on Gabby Petito's parents suing the Moab police for $50 million because they believe that the traffic stop was not handled properly and may have prevented her death, or they didn't follow procedure. So, Ping, I'll let you go first.
Oh, okay. I just kind of want to know what the angle is that they're trying to do. Like, what is the end goal? Because if you ask them, I'm sure they're going to say it's not about the money. So what is it about? Is it about, do they want information, like more internal memos about how it was handled? Or do they want better training, like some people have suggested? Or, like, I'm just not sure. Because I'm sure if you really did directly ask them, they're going to say it's not about the money. Like,
Right.
that's what they all say. So what is it about? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, I think I haven't looked it up yet. And again, True Crime Lights, I'm not going to get all involved in it, but it may be possible that 50 million is not even achievable under the law. It's just that when you file something, that's what gets people's attention, you know?
It's the press releases going.
Right. So, Jen, what did you think when you saw it?
Well, I haven't looked at the exact statutes.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that we have very good governmental immunity laws here, and they just passed more. And I know that in the University of Utah case, there was very much the state moved to dismiss it a lot. They really can't remember how they really specifically went out, which is sad because I just did a video on it. But I think that the problem is not going to be solved with training. It's a cultural thing. It's culture. And I would say Southern Utah culture to maybe Utah culture. I would hope that if they do file this suit and they do get it. Now, I know the University of Utah, they were insured for 10 million. So maybe Moab is insured for that much or more. I would hope that they would say, okay, we won this, put a domestic violence shelter in Southern Utah, because Utah only has 14 across the state. And like they have no room. And so women that live in that area have no place to go.
Right.
And especially women that are leaving polygamous marriages, which is down there. So I hope that they do something like Laura McCluskey's parents, where they started the foundation and they're all about awareness. I think they're very angry, though. I think they're very angry, and they have a right to be.
They do. I think they're very angry, and they are trying to start a foundation, or have established one. The direction that it's going is, I think they have a clear direction, but I think it's just kind of, there's something you say like, we're in it right now. It's hard when you're in it. Okay, their daughter is dead.
It's like they're still finalizing everything around their daughter's death right now.
Right.
And then once that's finished, then the Gabby Petito Foundation will have a direction, because they'll know where they're going then.
Exactly. And I think it's also difficult because they're in the middle of this civil suit with the Laundrie parents. And that is, you know, that to me, that's interesting to look at because it is, we don't have time to talk about it tonight, but it has got to be incredibly stressful for them to sit here and hear some of the responses and things like that. So I think a lot of it, like, you know, maybe they have a PR team, and it is good to keep driving home anything that creates awareness for domestic violence and resources for victims. I'm always going to be for. Maybe the $50 million lawsuit is simply that, so that everybody looks at it and starts reading and thinking again. There, like Jen said, there are a lot of protected entities. Like there are places where you cannot sue the police. You just can't. It's like you're not allowed. That's written into like whatever, that you can't do that. So we don't know the ins and outs. We don't know the caps on amounts, but it doesn't mean that to drive home a point and to say, like, even if it's just for them, like to hold them culpable, like Moab police, my daughter, like somebody should have been arrested that night. And then there would have been like what am I looking for? What is it? There would have been a record of something. Somebody would have had to go back to court. They probably wouldn't have been able to be around each other for 72 hours. We don't know if any of this would have prevented Gabby's death. We don't. But it wasn't handled the right way, and we all know that. And they just want to hold him. Maybe they just want to hold him accountable for that.
Yeah.
Could be.
So
I think Utah does have. I don't think you can sue. I will look as soon as this is over, and I will send you the screenshot of the statute. But I am pretty sure they just button those up even tighter.
It seems like when we first saw the traffic stop in Moab, I looked it up, and I think I remember it's like you can't. So this is just like a thing where, and I don't want to call it like a publicity stunt because that has a negative connotation. It's more like, we're here for Gabby. We are not going to let this go. We're not going to let this happen again. Like our daughter died with her fiance, and like her parent, like we're in the middle of it, and like we're just mad as hell, and just anything that we can go after, we're going to go after. And if that's the case, then I'm do it.
Well, if like this is the last thing I'll say, I promise. But Moab thrives on tourism. Without tourism, Moab is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already going to have an impact. It's already going to hurt their economy in some way, because either events won't, or just having that happen and then having your police like F up like that is not a good thing. Like Utah just lost like $10 million in revenue over a couple laws that suck, but like companies will take their business elsewhere. There's lots of other beautiful places that are in surrounding states. And so I think it might be good for Utah to sweat a little about that, and that it may be good. And I hope that really is more the goal, because that is what needs to change.
Well, sometimes too, and I don't have any information, and then I will shut up. They, meaning the Petito family and the foundation, may have to be careful about what they say about Moab police, the park, anything like that, because anything like that they say will be slander, and anything that they type on Twitter will be libel, right? But filing a lawsuit is a way to avoid that, and to put some kill them with the negativity. You let the way that maybe they feel, you let this happen. It's not safe to be here. You're not protected, and it's a way to do it legally without anybody coming back, because you can't get somebody on libel and slander for filing a lawsuit.
Right.
And you can say what you want in the lawsuit, in the filing. So there's that. So anybody else got anything else? Anybody else?
Thanks for inviting me. Sorry,
Thanks for hanging out in our super cool phone booth, man.
I love the phone booth.
We loved having you tonight, Jen. Come back again.
I will. Thank you so much. I
Anytime.
have a little bit of a crush on Ping. I
Oh,
did when I first started on YouTube, and I remember when he commented on my channel, like I was like, "Oh yay, Ping likes me."
girl.
It goes both ways because you're like, you can have my job, and I was like, I will, and I'm doing it tonight. So there you go.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah, come like anytime, and you don't have to like. Here's the thing about this channel, like, you don't have to come with like, this is what I'm working on, or this is what I just did, or I'm going to talk about this. We're just hanging out. That's all
No,
it is.
I sometimes I'm like really sick of what I'm working on just
Yeah.
because it's hard emotionally to handle. I don't think people realize that and I don't think I'm alone in this, that sometimes we work on these cases, especially like the Dabo case, which has been going on forever. I will get documents, or I will see things in the scriptures, or I'll find out that someone else effed up in the church, and it's like I'll go a couple days where I'm like barely functioning, and I'm like, I can't even think about YouTube because I'm so upset over this one sentence in a report.
Yeah.
So
You just get saturated. Like your brain gets saturated. It's both emotionally and intellectually sometimes.
yeah.
You just can't do it anymore. And this is kind of like, even though P and I talk about true crime, like, and we do take it, I mean, seriously when we're talking about it, but it's a more relaxed approach, and it's not over rehearsed or anything. You know what I mean? Like we just kind of say, and we don't, we
It's not
honestly,
like we're prepping 50 pages for each show or anything. We just kind of lightly look at stuff, and then we go off our own knowledge of whatever we've been reading in the last few days. And so,
and
yeah,
he'll,
you don't have to do much when you come here.
yeah, and he'll say to me like, "Hey, can you put something like when we're deciding how we want to do the thumbnail?" I'm like, "I want to put this on because it's important to me," and he'll say, "Oh, I want to put this on because it's important to me." But we may not know like what angle they're taking. You know, we don't say because we're going to talk about this, or because we're going to talk about that. So it's always kind of like a surprise here, and I like that because we get our like real time reactions to it. But yeah. So anyway, on that note, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you
Thanks,
for having
Jen.
me.
Yeah, and colleague, and to everybody else, thank you. It was a fun show. It was a good show. Thank you for participating in the chat. You can help support this channel by hitting the like button, hitting subscribe, sharing our videos, and commenting. We love hearing from you. If you have any feedback, let us know. But on that note, I am getting a message in my ear that we have to deposit another quarter for another 25 minutes. And quite honestly, because I
Alrighty.
broke biatch. So good night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night.